Hello and welcome to another episode of ReMIND. I am Shireesh, a team bonding facilitator, and I, along with Esther, are the co founders of Indian Board of Mind and Life Transformation. And I will also be your host for today's conversation. For the new viewers, let me tell you a little bit about ReMIND. At ReMIND, we explore the mindset, the behaviors, and the experiences that shape better leaders, forge stronger connections between teams, and build future ready organizations. Today's guest has spent more than 2 decades helping organizations build leadership, capability, and transform workplaces at scale. A published author, his journey spans Infosys, Deloitte, and KPMG Global Services, where he serves today as an associate partner, learning and talent development. Friends, please join me in welcoming Sumesh Khatua.
Suresh, thank you so much. Absolute pleasure that we are having this conversation. I look forward to a candid and reflective conversation with you today.
Great. I look forward to it also. And so, for the viewers again, the Remind has 3 sections. The first is where we deep dive into the crux of what Remind is all about, and the second part and third part are a little more fun. So let's begin. And looking at your title, Sumesh, your book and your leadership journey, I think it'll. I want to start off from there. And my first question to you comes from the leadership angle, which is that which leadership belief no longer serves of any value for today's workplace according to you.
Sure. Thank you for. I really like the fact how you set it up. You said 3 segments. The first one is what is going to challenge me, and then it will kind of dial down in tone. So I can absolutely understand why you said that. Let me start by sharing a very simple story, right? And
Mhm.
the story revolves around one of the players. I'm sure all of us have followed over a period of time. Now, this person in question is Sunil Narayan, and if all of
Mhm.
you remember, if you are following IPL, you have followed cricket for some time. He's someone
Yes.
who is known for his mystery delivery when he came onto the scene, would
Yeah.
take loads of wickets.
True.
Now, in 2007, suddenly his wickets started drying up, and
Mhm.
batsmen had him figured out. There comes Gautam Gambhir as the captain for Kolkata Knight Riders at that point and decides that
Mhm.
Sunil Narayan should go ahead and open the batting. Takes everyone to cleaners, helps Kolkata really perform well. But after that year, the moment Gautam Gambhir moves out from there, some wise people decide that he should not open again. He should go
Mhm.
down the order, right? But come 2014, Gautam Gambhir comes back as the coach, brings him to open the batting, and Kolkata actually goes on to win the championship. The point I'm trying to make is a lot of times, one of the leadership beliefs that people held is if you are not succeeding and you are at it, things might work out.
Mhm.
Sunil Narayan is a great example of changing things when things don't work out for you. Now, Sunil Narayan might have continued bowling different balls, but still not picked up wicket. What elevated his game was his ability to bat, and that contributed to him taking more wickets. So, one of the leadership belief that people have held is if you are disciplined, if you're sincere, you are at it, all those are great qualities to have. But at times, I think we need to change the pot for things to be successful. So the more transformative we are in our thought process, the chances of success is that much higher.
Sometimes leaders expect that this is how leadership is supposed to be, but it is not necessary. Whatever works in that particular situation, like you just now said, we have to change the pot. Sometimes we have to be open for having that this is how it works. It may not be the traditional mindset, but if it works, it works. So this is a great start, which I felt there was, bringing in cricket to the learning. And So my second question is a transition of what leadership is about organizations. Now, organizations are investing significantly in learning, much more than what it used to be, right? And I'm sure you're aware of that. And yet when we look around, sustained behavioral change seems to be one of the biggest challenges organizations are facing. I'm sure you're aware of that also. So my question to you is, why do you think organizations struggle with this change despite investing so much in the L&D space?
So this will look like a setup, Sirish, right? Because what you just asked me in terms of question is what I try and answer in my book, right? Which is called "Building Leaders Who Build Leaders," which I published last month. And this is one primary question that I'm trying to invest, right? Good intent, everyone wants to build the next set of leaders. There is money that's being pumped in, but why is it not bringing about that change that people really want to bring about? Now I have three thoughts in this, right? The first one is, let's start by defining what's the role of a leader. If the role of a leader is always defined as driving business impact, that's where the biggest problem is, right?
Mhm.
Because we all play based on what is measured. If what we are measured on is only driving business impact, then that's what I am focused on. You don't believe me, all of you listening, I'm sure you are enjoying the fabulous World Cup, Football World Cup right now. Just go and watch a football friendly. It will look like the worst game ever that you have witnessed. Now
Mhm.
translate to an international and see the same players play. That's the difference in terms of play when things are measured right. The second point is, we try and we have forgotten simple principles that we as learning and development professionals started very early on. We all were taught 70-20-10. And for anyone who is listening, it is about the impact. Where does the learning really happen? You'd be amazed, anyone who is listening to this for the first time, that 10% of learning, only 10% of learning happens in classroom. But because it is the easiest to measure, 80% of investment and effort goes in that. That 70% is about experience. So if you are to build leaders for the future, if you don't let them experience and learn through different things that they are doing, their leadership is not really tested. Because if you are going to your home to office, same route, same time every day, you know how to navigate the traffic, then you haven't encountered traffic. The first day you encounter traffic is the first time you put all your theory into action. My last point, it's about a very simple framework that I strongly believe in, and I propagate in my book. The framework is called leader. That's what we are really talking about. As a
True.
leader, we really need to focus on the six things. Few things, and I'm not going to go into the framework and bore all of you, but it starts with learning, which is the L of the leader, and
Mhm.
ends with replication, which is the R, right? As leaders, one of our primary role is to multiply leaders. If we don't, then there is a huge challenge. I'll close this with an encounter that I had. I know, Sirish, you said you are in Pune. You spend most of your time in Mumbai. I was in Mumbai last December, right? And I met one of the best human beings that I could come across, but I cannot take his name right now. Is an actor,
Okay.
loves to sing and interact. He closed his interaction with us with something that has stayed with me. He said, if you are successful in life, and he was equating that to being a leader in an organization. And he said, if you are successful in life and you don't take that elevator that brought you up to go down and bring few more people with you up, then
Mhm.
your life is a waste. And that's what has stayed with me. right? So replication of leadership to me means exactly that. Are you taking that elevator to go down and bring
Definitely.
few more people up with you?
Okay. True, true. Can you just repeat the first point that you said?
The
The first
first
one.
the first point about what, which around what were
Your from your three
the
points that
measurement.
you,
You were
yes,
talking about the
measurement.
measurement.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was essentially saying that people tend to play based on
True.
what we measure. So
Correct.
if the value of a leadership is measured by only business growth, then I spend most of my time trying to grow the business. But if my measurement shifts to say, how many more leaders have I been able to develop? Have I made my own role obsolete? Then we'll see a lot of behavior change happening around us.
True, true. That's absolutely a great point that you said, because I personally work on a framework which is called behavior behind performance. Concept behind that is that performance is what gets measured, but the behavior behind the performance, which is driving the performance, we generally do not measure that. So what we try to do is to bring about a framework where we can measure or influence that behavior which is driving the performance. So that is very much in line with what you said about the measurement part. And I also love the part about, taking the elevator down and bringing a few people up along with your journey to the top of the mountain, or so to speak. That's a great share, Sumesh. Thank you so much for that. And that brings me to my next question, and that is about, again, leaders, but about from a different angle. And that's because you have got a varied, not varied, let's say a rich experience of working with Infi and Deloitte and now KPMG. So you have got a vantage point, if I can say so. So across this journey or experience that you have interacted, I'm sure, with a lot of leaders. And I wanted to know, what is that one or two behavior that consistently shows up in exceptional leaders, but is noticeably absent in the not so exceptional leaders, according to you?
I think that's a very, very interesting question, right? And while there might be few, I will keep it very short and call out one that I think stands out for me, because you spoke about mindset sometime back as you and I were speaking. So I'm going to try and build this off there. Let's drill this down with an example. I might get the years wrong a little bit, so please pardon me, those people who love playing trivia. That's not what I'm trying to play here. Right? Uh, do you know the first time a double century was scored in international cricket? What year would that be? That would be 2010, for those of you who are still
Oh,
trying to think. And the gentleman who scored that double century in ODI cricket is
okay.
the legendary Sachin Tendulkar, but who else, right? That is the
Okay.
first time in more than 100 years of international cricket being
Cricket.
played that someone scored a double century. But after Tendulkar scored the double century, there have been 11 or 13 more instances. I'm not getting the number correct, but
Hmm.
people have scored further double century from there. The
Okay.
point I'm trying to make is, till the time someone does not break a barrier, the barrier seems unachievable. But
True.
once the
Absolutely.
barrier is broken, the conversation about Sachin Tendulkar shifted to say he took a lot of balls to score his double century. He
Hmm.
played slower, but the context was very different. If Sachin did not score that double century, there would still not be so many more people who believe that they could score a double century in international cricket. So, tying back to your point, Sirish, the best leaders are the ones who understand the value of an effort leading to outcome and acknowledge what has been created before them, because
Hmm.
they know that because there was something which was created before them, they have the platform to go higher. The
Correct.
leaders who don't go anywhere are the ones who believe in criticism and cannot think beyond self. They think everyone before them was dumb. They are the smartest that has
Smartest of the lot.
embraced this earth, right? So that's the
True.
key difference that I see.
Let me transition to another question, and the question stems from a recent article which I read, and it is about a child and his parents thinking. Now the parents of this child shifted this child from a premier educational institute, to a regular school, a regular, maybe a janta school, I don't know, but citing the fact that they wanted to redirect the resources from his international school to a regular school and put that additional resources towards making him a sports person, citing the thought that most of the playing field would be level because of AI, in especially the knowledge domain. And that got me thinking, and posing my next question to you is that as AI is becoming increasingly capable, which human capability is becoming obsolete and which is becoming indispensable, according to you, Sumesh?
Huh. I'm very careful answering that question because whatever I say now would be dated in about 30 seconds, right? So, but I'll still make my attempt. And but before that, if you read that in a newspaper about the parents, hats off to them, right, for doing what they did, right, in a world that absolutely believe in instant gratification and things like those. For them to take that call, what an amazing call. But your question. Let me start with roles, right? I think here is what this is my take based on discussion with few professors and things. I think AI, when it comes to anything to do with strategy, AI would be able to do fabulous work because if you go behind the science of how AI operates, is it looks for all information which is out there, distills that information, and comes back and presents it to people. So if you asked AI to come up with a marketing strategy to promote your podcast, it would give you fabulous ideas, right? It would absolutely blow your mind because it's about the strategy that's out there. What so AI, I think, is able to do a lot of high end stuff
Hmm.
without context. So the skill, that's absolutely important. But if you told AI, saying give AI a background about what we are trying to do, and then talk about, can you give us strategies on how to market this podcast, I can bet my life that AI would not come up with the brightest things that are required to make this work, right? And the point I'm trying to say is some of the basic human skills around context, common sense, knowledge of knowing what we are doing are much more important. And we have said this for a number of years now. Context is the king. The more we understand our context, the
Mm-hmm.
differentiated our ability to provide an experience is going to be. So AI cannot take that away. One of the key discussion points that we have been having is uh, a human in the loop with AI, which I'm sure all of you would have heard about it.
Hmm.
You have to think about AI as an assisted, knowledge assisted uh, tool that's available for us to perform. We are not fighting with it. We are
Hmm.
working along with it. And working along with it requires us to understand how best can we use AI. So whatever skill is required for you to make AI work for you, I think we should all invest that amount of time. Or else it'll become very difficult if it is not assisted, right? So anything which started, simple examples are, think about, is there any home that you have now that does not have a washing machine, does not have a microwave, and some of those. First time it started, it took people time to adjust. Then it became part and parcel of who we are. I think that's how AI is going to be, right? Human in the loop with AI is the future. With my limited understanding that I can talk about, it might change in the next 30 seconds.
So, what is the capabilities you think will become necessary? That was a leading up question to this.
Capabilities in terms of what we need is our ability to solve problems, is at the premium. I think that's going to be absolutely, absolutely important. Second, contextualization of
Mm-hmm.
things that we need to do is going to
Mm-hmm.
be important. The third thing is not really a skill or a capability, but I think it's again a state of mind, which is what I think a lot of leadership conversations are about. If you really think about who you want to be, I think here is a fabulous opportunity for us to become what we call as a T professional. A
Mm-hmm.
T professional is one who grows in breadth and specializes in one thing. Can
Mm-hmm.
you figure out what is that core that no one does better than you? That's your moot, right? So if you want to identify your moot, I'm talking a language that Shireesh will understand, given he is an entrepreneur. That's what you need to figure out in the world today. The also rans are not going to find a space.
All right. One of the things which comes to my mind, it's from a friend of mine who recently came back from the US. He was working there, and in the AI domain. And since you mentioned T, he mentioned the word K to me, and he told me that we are in a K economy. And what he meant was that we are either the people who adopt AI will probably go on the upward slope of K, and people who don't will probably go on the downward slope of K. Having said that, he also said that I myself am working with AI invested minds in developing my own replacement. And he said, and it's really interesting. He said that he is working for his own replacement, and there's nothing that he can do about it, because if he doesn't work, he'll probably somebody else will probably do that. But it's for sure that he said that I'm going to have a tough time if I do not adopt AI. So, and he's in the IT core IT space. So that was an interesting thought which I thought I should share with you.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for scaring all of us, Sirish. Very, very nice of you. Amazing thing for you to call out, but well done.
I know. He painted a grim picture, but yeah. So all right. Let's not go on to the grim picture too much, and also understand as a as an individual, as a father, uh, every generation that comes across has their own expectation, their own technology. Like you mentioned, water, washing machine, or electricity for that matter, and different opportunities with these technologies and these things opening up for the generation, future leaders who are coming up. Let's say 5 years down the line, what will the organizations wish they had started building today? And if they had, they would be in a better place. Things, capabilities, or things according to you, which would place them in a better place in the future. Did you get me?
Are struggling to unmute myself and get started, right? So much about being AI friendly and cannot unmute on a call, virtual call. So let me make sure I understood you right there, Sirish. So you're talking about what are the capabilities of the future that we should be preparing our people on? Is that what you're looking at?
That organizations should be preparing their future leaders on, or they should focus them to be developed on.
Right, a few, because I work in this space, there are few that we are focused on, and I could call out some of those for anyone to look at. I'm not going to talk about what we just spoke about, which is AI, right? And I hope we are able to differentiate and understand that AI capability building has two key aspects to it. One is from a strategy standpoint, which is how will we implement AI in organization. But the second is also about AI usage. So based on what spectrum you are, that AI capability building might look very different for you, because not everyone needs to do AI strategy. Not everyone needs to know how to build an agent, right? So that's a call that you all need to take. The second one, very basic, but I think is absolutely important. As we keep moving up in our careers, our technical skills obviously start becoming basic requirements, and what really will stand you out is your ability to influence towards an outcome. So the more you are able to communicate to influence is something which will find you in more important stakeholder meetings than you ever thought. So please think about how best can you communicate and influence an outcome. The third, and this is what Shireesh, by the way, is a master facilitator for, your ability to really manage your teams by doing strategic delegation. If you don't have your team together and you are consciously not thinking about what to delegate and what to move away from, then you will end up like the person Shirish spoke about, who is working to figure out his or her own replacement in form of AI, because they go back to the Sunil Narayan example that we started with, decided not to transform and only hone and focus on that skill. So those three key things, nothing new, uh, nothing earth shattering, but the
True.
lens with which you need to look at the skills and capabilities has to be a little different. Back to you, Suresh.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that share, Sumesh. And that really hits a nail on the head. And I feel so happy hearing that the speaking, the communication part, and the teams, because I love speaking. I love public speaking. I practice that, and also being in the team space. I feel so happy right now. I feel like I'm on cloud nine right now. So thank you for that.
I actually have one closure for you. Maybe if we have time, we'll come back to that story. But
Okay.
something for leaders to keep in mind is what a lot of times people notice is effort, right? And we keep saying this in the leadership parlance that effort is
Hmm.
what is visible. But what will get you ahead is expertise. And expertise is not visible, right? So, as
Okay.
leaders, it is your expertise on things which will help you close things faster, move things ahead, or else it'll
Hmm.
take this 10 hours to do a 10 seconds work as well, right? So,
True, true.
please focus on expertise and not so much an effort. Back to
All
you. Sorry.
right. All right. So, friends, if Sumesh was to pick up the Indian team, he would have 10 specialists and he would have zero all-rounders. Am I right, Sumesh? Would that be a correct way of saying?
Yeah, so the way I look at this is the only all rounder who finds a place in my team is someone who would find a place on the team either as a batsman or as a bowler, right? Not someone who is there because they can do a little bit of this and a
Little
little
bit of
bit of that. I think for that, you need the IPL rule of 12 players and not 11 players.
that. Great, great. All right. So, thank you, Sumesh. And let me close off this section, which I am actually really enjoying. And given the time constraint, I have to, move on. But probably, Sumesh, we should catch up some other time. But bringing closure to this first section, I wanted to take you back to your own journey. And looking back at your journey, I wanted to know what are some of the things that has helped you grow as a leader, which could probably be of relevance and importance for the future leaders. Looking back at your journey.
uh, I think my mistakes, right, and
Oh, nice.
which I think all of us can absolutely learn from. But to anyone listening, I still make mistakes. We are all human. But when I
Absolutely.
know that I have made a mistake, I own up my mistake. But there
Amazing.
is no ego in owning up a mistake that you have done, and that's what helps you build credibility with your team as well, because they understand at the end of the day that you are human. The second key thing, very early in my life, I understood the importance at that point of a mentor. And as I moved ahead in my career of a coach, I think it has been immensely helpful because they helped me figure out answers that I would have alone struggled to figure out.
True.
The third thing, be humble. Uh, Designations are there because of how a organizational structure has to operate. It does not define you as a person, as a human being, how you should interact with people. We should wear designations with flair by making people look up to those designations and not look at it and be worried about what that designation someone carries. The best leaders that I have come across don't throw their designations or ranks around in a conversation. They
True,
connect
true.
with you irrespective of what they get. So those are some leadership lessons for me that I have always carried together. My last one: always deeply think about the personal brand that you want to create for yourself as a leader. What
Hmm.
will people speak about you when you are not in that room
Room.
is what is your brand. And
And
if you don't focus on creating it, then you will be known as also can do and never the first choice. Right? So if you have to be the first choice, your branding has to be very, very clear.
amazing, amazing. So, friends, that was a great, great wrap up. And if I can just summarize this last one because it has really impacted me, have a attitude of gratitude, have a mentor, be vulnerable, be own up to your mistakes, and the fourth one is a really great one, which is have a vision or build a brand because uh, intentionally building a brand is something very, very important, especially in today's days and time where everything is changing too fast. So thank you, Sumesh, for this great share. And let's change gears and let's go into a little bit more, a little simpler and lighter and probably a little fun oriented talk. And it is called This or That. And I have reshaped it into leadership dilemmas. So I'm going to ask you a couple of simple leadership dilemmas and see where or which side do you lean to. All right. There are no right or wrongs. It's just, I'm just simply trying to pick your brain. So let's start with the first one, and I know the answer for this one, but let me still ask it. You are leading a team through uncertainty. So would you rather give your people confidence even when you don't know the answer, so that they have the feeling that they have a pillar to fall back on, or would you openly admit that you don't know the answer and, like you said, be vulnerable and then go on and try to find the answer? Which one would you
Yeah, I
pick?
think it's obvious. In the moment, it might not be obvious. I will always lean for the later, right? Which is
True.
uh, tell the team the way things are, right? I mean, we don't have all the answers. We shouldn't
Absolutely.
pretend to have all the answers. Yes, that's my way of working with the team, Suresh.
True, true. I could guess that. Now, my second one is, since you're in talent development, there is a high performer. Say there is a high performer who consistently delivers results for you or the organization, but does not respect the team culture or the organization culture so much. Do you coach them or do you let them go?
Depends. This is a classical skill will question, right? But to me, there are few non-negotiables, right? And the values and the ethos of the organization are, to me, non-negotiable. If
True,
the values are compromised, and it could be anything, right? I mean, one of the key things that we hold very, very dearly is respect for one another. And at times, in the garb of trying to achieve results, people forget the respect that they should have for their team, their colleagues. I think, to me, that's a showstopper. It doesn't matter. You can be anyone. I mean,
true,
some of
true.
the best players in the world have lost their place because of non-alignment, right? So
Non-alignment. Yeah.
we are mere mortals.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's great, and I thoroughly 100% agree with that. If it is not in alignment, then it has to be a difficult call, but you can't have a negotiation around that. So my next question is that when you are hiring, do you hire for a person for his attitude or his technical skills?
Again, the right answer is attitude, right? But based on roles, at times you are absolutely looking at the skill. But to your
Right.
question, would I hire someone with a better skill and nullified attitude, or average skill and fabulous attitude? The answer is average skill and fabulous attitude, right? So,
Mhm.
all of you listening to this, please always think about it in that manner. It's never, I have no skill, but I have fabulous attitude. Will I get hired? Maybe, but not in a skill economy, right? So,
True. True, true. So that's right, absolutely. Because there are a lot of people who are entering the job market, and probably they would benefit from this answer. Just having no skill and going and saying that I have an attitude, hire me, and I will, learn everything on the job. That's not how it's going to become, or that's not going to happen. But doesn't matter if you have. Don't go after perfection. If I can, Sumesh, don't go after perfection. Start with where you are. Start with what you have, and go but having the right attitude is absolutely a non-negotiable. So that's great, Sumesh. So my last question in this dilemmas is, if you had to choose one, would you build a leader who would build a culture where leaders are there, or would you build a sorry, my question is that, would you build leaders who build culture, or build a culture where leaders are built? So leadership first or culture first?
Always the culture. The culture is what builds leaders. Leaders amplify, grow culture, right? You always have to think about culture as the hidden curriculum that ensures that leadership multiplies.
All right. True. Absolutely. Culture comes first, because that is the growth, or the foundation where all the leaders, or all the people who can, grow from. So that's great, Sumesh. Thank you so much for that. And now let's transition to our third and final segment of Remind, and I call it Remind Reflections. Here, I will ask you simple question. Just share what comes to your mind. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just your perception, your mindset, where you are coming from, your experiences. If I can so. So my first question is that, what is one leadership myth that you no longer believe is relevant today?
Leader is always right.
True. So having a vulnerability uh, is the right way to go. Right?
Absolutely.
Is what I can say. All right. So question number two. What's one invisible behavior that separates exceptional leaders? I think you have kind
Care.
of, right?
They deeply care about the people that they work with.
Absolutely. The connections is something which is very, very important, right? So for the future leaders, what is one habit future leaders should work on building today?
They should absolutely be 100% attentive when having a conversation. In a world full of distraction, if
Ah,
you don't give your 100% to people that you are spending time with, you are having a conversation with, you need to revisit and you only remember part of that conversation. One thing that I learned early in my career and I take great pride in doing is I don't believe in multitasking. So if I am with you, I am with you 100%. I close that chapter, then move on to the next thing, right? So to me, that's a very, very critical skill to have, rather than when people try and show you that they're in the middle of 10 things, but they are trying to juggle all, which essentially means they're juggling none.
true, true. That's something which I again read somewhere recently, and that is that said that we are not lazy, or you are not lazy. You are only one distraction away from your achieving your goals. So it's just the distraction which are keeping us away from achieving our goals. And if we remove that, we will get great satisfaction in our achievements. That's something, that's how it read.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely agree with you. The focus is something which is non-negotiable, and it really is important. So thank you so much, Sumesh. And closing, in closing, I want to ask you, your final take on everything about the future leaders, who are, building a better ecosystem where future leaders can thrive. What's your take on that as we close out?
A few things, right? And maybe it's a repetition of what I said, but I want to
True,
bring it together. Think about what's the role of a leader. Like we were discussing, the role of a leader is to help multiply and build more leaders. So if you focus on that, that's a primary thing that should take care of everything else. Second, your role as a leader is not necessarily to be the expert in your field. You might have started as a programmer, but you are not a leader because you are the best programmer. So have that humility to accept that and focus on seeing things that your team does not see today. Because if you are a leader who sinks the sailing ship because you were really invested in trying to close a bolt that was open. It does not speak volume about you. Your role is to make sure that the ship sails without any incident and gets to the shore. The third one, the best leaders are the ones who care. So build yourself in a manner where you are deeply invested in people. And when you are deeply invested, you are genuine, you are humble, and you look for opportunities where people are able to use their strengths to thrive, not give anything that they have. So that's my simple take on this.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sumesh. And I really liked the way you stressed upon being deeply invested. That is something that I personally would take away from this conversation and as a learning from you. So thank you so much, Sumesh, for sharing your experiences and insights so candidly and generously. And I'm sure our audience would have taken a lot from all of your knowledge and experiences that you shared, and would have gained and probably will invest in their own leadership journey as well. So before we conclude, Sumesh, is there anything you want to say as a thank you and a bye bye to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to do two things, right? So for because we kept referring to the book, for anyone who is able to see outside
Yes.
of the blur, this is my book, right? So a lot of the frameworks that we were talking about is from here. It is about building leaders who build leaders. And the
Can you
second,
put it up again in just front?
I am going to try and see if I can remove my blur
Yes,
and
that will be
put it
better.
up here.
Yes. Okay.
So hoping you are all able to see the book right
Yeah,
now.
we can see one handsome man standing there.
Yeah, you used to be a person few years back, but we all hold on to an image of ourselves, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
my second call out is during the course of this conversation, any reference to any person living or dead is purely coincidental, right? And the views shared are my personal, does not represent any of the organization. So, and wish you all the best. It's a fabulous conversation with you, Suresh. Thank you for making it a
Thank you.
conversation.